The title of this episode is, in a sense, a mockery of what it means to be young. How many youngsters at the age of 17 who want to join the armed forces are thinking of pension? Do you join the army thinking of middle and old age benefits, or you join it for the spirit of serving your country? If the average lifespan of an Indian now is close to 70, then assuming that those who are agitating against the Agnipath scheme, they will get to work at a maximum of 15 years at junior levels in the army. And as the present system stipulates, you work for 15 years from the age of 17 years onwards and then draw a pension for more than 40 years in one's life. This is the level of absurdity and waste in the present system. And there are those who are willing to burn down the country to defend this system. It poses the question, is our country a free-for-all welfare state that can afford this kind of a waste? Is the state obliged to pay more than 70% of its total defense budget in pensions and salaries and leave only 30% for weapons acquisitions and modernization? Which means the lifelong welfare of these pensioners becomes more important than the security of the country. Which also means that we are saddled with an aging army to face twin threats on the border with China and Pakistan. And it does not end there. The ethos of the armed forces in the country, in a sense, define who we are as a country and as a people. And if we give the message that we are a bunch of pensioners worried more about old age benefits rather than vigorously defending the country, then what kind of message would it send to the rest of the country and the world? Would it not kill the spirit of daring, adventure, fearlessness, and enterprise that is the bloodstream of any country? And finally, are we still living in the last century and following practices and methods and systems that perhaps served us well at some point in time, but are pretty much redundant and useless in the present age? And if you need further proof of what can go wrong with the present system, then take a close look at what is happening in the Ukraine war. Not a day passes when Zelensky does not beg and wring his hands to the West to send him long-range artillery to meet the Russian threat. A lot of people might not be aware that before this war started, Ukraine had the third largest army in Europe after Russia and Turkey. And yet, the third largest army has lost much of the south and the east in the country to Russia, not because their men were not brave on the battlefield, but because they cannot match the heavy weaponry, the long-range artillery, air power and missile strength of the Russians. Men alone do not win wars on the battlefield. Machines and ammunition do. And machines and technology cost money. And if you are paying 70% of your defense budget in pensions and salaries, where will the money come for modern weaponry, missiles and fighter planes? This is the crux of the problem we face today. Do we go forward as a nation of tired Pensionpath finders, or as a young, invigorated nation of fit armed forces personnel called Agniveers? This is the choice we must make, even though it is clear to everyone that a large section of the opposition has already made a choice on this sensitive and vitally important issue. And this highlights the role especially of Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi and what they are communicating to the nation on this issue. Sonia Gandhi, true to her European socialist background, thinks India is a reservoir of untold wealth which can be thrown about like cake and candy for all kinds of sundry groups to win elections. Rahul Gandhi, true to his earlier calls to the young to bring agitation on the streets on each and every issue, is leaving no stone unturned to encourage this agitation. And this is what makes the mother-son duo so dangerous in their support of anarchy and agitation let loose on the streets of this country. the government on its part is also failing in its endeavor to highlight the long-term benefits of the scheme by hiding behind service chiefs and retired senior generals in the armed forces to explain the scheme and its benefits to the public at large. The senior politicians in the BJP have to step up to the task and come out in the open with all guns blazing, as they say, in vigorously defending the Agnipath scheme. If history repeats itself and the government is forced to withdraw the scheme like they did in the Kisan agitation, then it will go down very badly for the BJP. It is not only the soldier who faces the firing line. The lawmakers and politicians behind the scheme are also on test. The BJP would do well to remember that. And on this note, yours truly, that is I, Juggi Bhasin, for the CAA Show. I come to the end of this episode of the CAA Show. I hope you really enjoyed this particular episode. If you like our show, do subscribe to us. As I said, and I keep saying in all my programs that the subscription is absolutely free. Press the big red subscriber button on your screen. Subscribe to us. Enjoy different viewpoints on subjects which are topical, which are important, which are controversial. We tackle all of them with fairness, with no agenda, but with the correct insight of what those subjects are. And so on this note, I come to the end of this episode, and it's goodbye and cheers from my end.